This is a story about the importance of truly knowing people. You may think you have a good read on someone, but in reality, you have no idea what they're thinking or what they're capable of. This happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The struggle of everyday life was starting to wear thin on me and my girlfriend Stacy. She suggested that we rent a cabin out in the woods just to escape for a few days. Naturally, I loved the idea, but I wasn't exactly rolling in the cash. So, she floated another idea. My best friend Randy and his girlfriend were close to us, so she suggested that they come with us to make it like a couple's getaway. It would be fun hanging out, and they would be able to pay for half the trip. I loved the idea, and when I presented it to Randy, he was on board immediately. Since we were taking this trip in the middle of winter, we wanted a cabin with a fireplace, and somewhere that would just give us that warm and cozy feeling. Stacy found a place, and we booked it for the end of that month. We were excited and started planning meals and other fun stuff to do at the cabin. Less than a week until the trip, Randy and his girlfriend broke up. The breakup was sudden and it didn't end well. Stacy and I tried to figure out if we should offer Randy his money back or just not say anything. We really didn't have the funds to do this alone, but it's also not fair to make Randy pay for half a trip that he's not even going on. I called Randy to talk about it, and he told me not to worry about it. I offered several times to give him his money back, but he insisted that we still go and have a romantic getaway. When I told Stacy the news, she was excited, and we started getting pumped for our trip alone. The next day, which was only a few days before the trip, Randy told me that he found someone else to go on the trip with us. I told him that I wasn't crazy about that idea, and when Stacy heard, she agreed. We didn't really want to travel with some random rebound that even Randy barely knew. I tried explaining to him that travel compatibility is a real thing, and that we know nothing about this woman. Randy begged, and after a few minutes, he talked me into it. He offered to pay for my entire portion of the trip, and he promised that his new girlfriend would be cool and that we would love her. Stacy and I were not happy. We knew the trip had the potential to end in awkward disaster. That alone would be a horror story. It took a little while, but we decided that we were going to make the best of this situation. The weekend finally arrived, and we carpooled to the cabin together in my truck. Randy introduced us to his new girlfriend, Lucy. She seemed sweet and even a little quiet. Stacy and I are not shy, and we can be loud and annoying. We spent most of the drive trying to get to know Lucy, but she wasn't very talkative. I barely knew what her voice sounded like by the time we got to the cabin. The trip started fine. We all got settled in, and we were just hanging around the fireplace chatting. Stacy and I love playing card games, but we especially love Uno. We just love its simplicity, and we could play it just about anywhere and any time. So Stacy suggested that we play Uno, and everyone was on board. Even Lucy seemed like she was finally starting to come out of her shell. During the Uno game, we witnessed our first red flag of the weekend. When Stacy called Uno, indicating that she only had one card left, Lucy looked over at her, and with rage and anger in her normally mousy voice, she started to rip into Stacy. We all kinda laughed at first, thinking she was kidding around, but that made it so much worse. Lucy started to go insane. She was screaming that Stacy must have been cheating, and there's no way she could have only had one card left. Stacy was defending herself, and Lucy just kept acting like a toddler and screaming about her cheating. I'm not being sarcastic when I say she was screaming about Uno with people she barely knew. Even if Stacy was cheating, which she wasn't, this was an outrageous overreaction. When Randy tried to calm her down, she threw all her cards and left the living room. He apologized to us, and we just laughed it off. Later that night, Stacy made dinner, and Lucy seemed completely fine now, almost like she didn't throw a temper tantrum a few hours ago. This is red flag number 2. While we were eating, Lucy started to overshare details about her and Randy's personal time together. Things you don't say to others in public. Like very private and personal things that I'm not going to mention in the story for Randy's sake. I could tell he was embarrassed. I just kept trying to crack jokes and change the subject. Eventually she stopped, and the 4 of us didn't do much for the rest of the evening. That night, Stacy woke me up in the middle of the night and told me to listen. I got up, and I could hear Lucy and Randy arguing. I couldn't fully understand what they were saying because the bedrooms were on opposite ends of the cabin, and we had our door closed. I could just tell by the tone of the arguing and inflection in the voices that they were clearly fighting. The awkwardness of this was crazy, and we didn't want to make Randy feel any worse, so we pretended that we didn't hear it, and we decided not to mention it the next day. The next morning and day were uneventful. Randy seemed distant, and we barely saw or heard from Lucy. It wasn't until that night that things got weird. At some point in the middle of the night, I woke up to Randy standing over me. It scared the hell out of me. I asked him what he was doing, and he looked terrified. He asked if he could stay in our room tonight and if we could keep the door locked. I was confused and asked him if he could explain why. Apparently, he woke up during the night and Lucy was standing at the bottom of the bed, just staring at him. When he asked what she was doing, she just shrugged and said that she was watching him sleep, just in case, whatever that means. He said they stared at each other for a moment, and then she just turned and walked out of the room. Several minutes later, she still didn't return to the room. He decided to get up and go check on her and make sure she was okay, and that's when he noticed something on her side of the bed. He moved the blanket a little bit, and right there on the bed was a large knife. That's when he decided to sneak over to our room. He quietly walked through the dark cabin, trying not to make a noise. When he got to the living room, he heard Lucy humming to herself and wandering around like she was almost dancing. He said it kind of looked like she was sleepwalking, but worse. When she was almost at our bedroom door, the floor creaked subtly and she stopped humming. She turned to his general direction, and in an ominous voice, she said, "I see you." Randy said that it didn't even look like she was looking at him, just in his direction. After that, she turned around and continued to hum and skip around the dark cabin. That's when he entered our room and locked the door. I was trying to process all of this, and at the same time, Stacy woke up. We were in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't really know what to do. Lucy could have very well just been in some sort of elaborate sleepwalking state, but I don't know if that explains the knife. While we were contemplating, we could still hear Lucy pacing around the cabin. A few minutes later, we heard the front door to the cabin slam shut. We opened the bedroom door, and Lucy wasn't there. Randy looked out of the window and saw Lucy heading into the freezing cold forest with a t-shirt and a pair of shorts on. Randy ran to his bedroom and screamed because the knife was gone. Stacy said we had to go out and get her and couldn't just let her wander in the woods in the middle of the night, especially if she was sleepwalking. Randy was terrified and wanted nothing to do with his new girlfriend. Stacy went back to our room and started putting on warm clothes and a jacket. Randy was pleading with her to just call a park ranger or something. I've known Randy my entire life, and I've never seen him this scared. During our brief discussion in the bedroom, we heard the cabin door open and close again. We all got quiet and listened intently. We heard Lucy stomping down the hall toward her and Randy's bedroom. She was still humming. We stayed in our bedroom that night and didn't sleep at all. At 6 in the morning, we heard Lucy in the kitchen washing dishes. We all went out there, and she greeted us like nothing was wrong. Stacy and I chalked this all up to Lucy just being a bit off, and Randy going through some of his own issues since he had just broken up with his long-term girlfriend before this trip. Everything we experienced the night before was weird for sure, but it could be explained by sleepwalking or something like that. Randy was convinced that something darker was at play here, but Stacy dismissed it right away. She went to help Lucy clean, and I tried to console Randy the best I could before he went back to his bedroom. Not 2 minutes later, he texted me and told me to go to his bedroom right now and not to tell anyone. I went over there, and he showed me something horrifying. While he was packing up his stuff, he moved Lucy's bag. When he set her bag down, a large knife fell out of the side, the same knife that Randy saw the night before. I could see and feel how scared Randy was. He put the knife back in her bag and waited in the living room for everyone else to be ready to leave. The drive home was full of tension. Just knowing that Lucy had that knife in her bag freaked me out. Thankfully, we made it home safe and physically unharmed. Randy ghosted Lucy after that, and she must not have cared because she never tried to get a hold of him either. Occasionally,